Hello and welcome to Activating Magic. I'm your host, Darla LeDoux, and I am here with my dear friend, Ruth Cummings. Hi, Ruth.
Hello. So excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
hmm I have hired Ruth and worked with her personally on my own physical stuff. So I just wanted to disclose that up front. I asked her to be here because I've experienced her magic firsthand. And we're going to go in all kinds of directions related to how your body might be holding your energy patterns that are keeping you stuck. So, just to introduce Ruth formally, Ruth Z. Cummings is a distinguished body mind coach and renowned speaker dedicated to empowering leaders through the profound influence of embodied communication. By emphasizing integrity, inclusion, and confidence, Ruth assists leadership teams in cultivating inspiring company cultures that drive success and engagement. She is the founder of Athletic Touch Therapeutic Massage and Coaching and brings a wealth of experience of over 50,000 hours of working with diverse clients. Like, they say 10,000 makes you an expert.
Right.
So,
So
overachiever
many.
at all?
Just a little. That is true.
She's worked with CEOs, professional athletes, and young adults. Her dynamic presentations and workshops reveal how interpreting the often ignored language of the body can unlock peak performance. So I had the chance to hear you speak. And as you were speaking, I thought, okay, I'm going to hire her. I knew in that moment. So yeah, talk a little bit about how you got in, and obviously starting with massage. How did you get into this line of work?
Well, I've always loved the body, and I knew the body was my path. I just loved it as a kid. And
I feel like we
I'm a
have to
drummer.
dive in right there. So
Right.
what did that look like? Like you love jumping around and playing or
Yeah,
athletics or
all of those. So I'm a drummer. So the rhythm of the body
okay.
helped me with
Mm.
my ADHD. So I'm very before ADHD was a thing, I couldn't sit still. I couldn't concentrate. I still can't read. I can read, but I have to, audio is way better. And so by touching, I could find my pulse and I could help myself. My
Wow.
brother was a professional athlete, but as a young kid, he was an athlete, and I was able to help people's wrists by massaging their elbows or helping people's headaches go away by just holding or touching their neck or their shoulders. And this was from a little age kid. The other thing I did was I was working with this cracks me up. I was working with teens as a little kid. There's pictures of me looking up, talking to people way older than me, mediating. And I
Mm.
was, under 10. And so I've put those two together. But as a kid, drumming helped me. And then I knew I loved the body. So I went into college to go to physical therapy school,
Mm.
but I didn't like the way they were using Oxy as a solution in those years. It's a little different
Mhm.
now, but I didn't like that in the school I was candy striping. I was volunteering in the
Mhm.
hospital, and I didn't like that option. And so when I graduated with psychology, English, and music, I went to straight to massage school. And
Mm.
so from there, I've been working on drummers and on professional athletes. And from my brother was doing cycling in New Mexico, and I started selling 10 hours of massage, so 10 packs for
Mhm.
$100, which I thought was like, so it's $10 a massage. And I sold 300, and I was like, oh, I'm so rich. But then I had like a lot of massages to do. I had to do like 3,000 massages, and I didn't really think about that at the time. But I'll tell you, some of those clients are still my clients 35 years later. So that's kind of how I got into it. I tried to work for other people, but I knew that I had more passion for what I was doing than anybody I was around. And
Mm.
so, in the process of these years, I've had 100 employees, and then from there, like you say, so what happened next is learning to be an entrepreneur and being a women entrepreneur, and also surviving in the massage world. is very challenging. You know, they don't tell
Mm,
you when you go to massage school that almost it's like 5% is all that make it. You really have to work hard.
mm,
So I was working hard.
mm.
I worked some weeks I did 60 massages. That's why my numbers are so high. And like I was just
I mean, you had me when you said you sold 3,000 massages immediately. Like, no
I
wonder.
you know, like in high school, like in drumming, you had to sell like the candles or the cookies to go
Mhm,
on a trip.
mhm.
I always sold enough to pay for like 3 trips. I just was really good at it and I believed in what I was doing, even though the cookies were awful, you know, but I knew a couple of my friends couldn't afford it and I was good at it. And so I'm also just really good at
Mm,
I love what I do. So
mm.
it sells easily for me.
Yeah.
So through the years, I've worked on many, many professional athletes and CEOs at the same, you know, same day, like having two CEOs, Fortune 500 company people, and then two professional athletes. Like that's a typical day for me. And what I noticed through the years was I would have theories because I was getting bored with ADHD, right? I'm sitting there for an hour, la, 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 la. And I'm like, wow, he came in with this muscle tight last week, like, and the week before, and the
Mm,
week before. So I'm tired of this just hurting him all the
mhm,
time. How can we really get this chronic problem to go away? So I started having some theories about where that might be, where it might be initiated. And I call it a flow chart. I
mhm,
call it like the alpha muscle that's starting all the other problems. And so I was trying to look for that and I would have theories in my head. I was like playing games.
mhm,
What if this happens? What if I do this? What if I do this? And so what I
mm,
found was if I found the alpha muscle,
mm,
and so how I would do that is I would touch that muscle and I would touch a lower muscle, a higher muscle, and decide which one would relax first. Whichever one didn't relax, that's the alpha. And you keep going up until
mhm,
you find connections that aren't happening. And it's so interesting because it's cold usually between those. The
mm,
pulse is either non-existent or really low. So there's just, you know, these little tags that will show you how to find that. And then I
mm,
tried to do that with the CEOs and it also worked. The thing about professional athletes or the college athletes or the high school athletes I was working on, it was so tangibly noticeable right away. So
mhm.
like they could tell me that they could run better, they could throw better, whatever it was
Yes.
within a moment or two. With the CEOs, they were having severe issues hiring people, losing money, their families were falling apart, their bodies weren't working, whatever it was. But what I noticed was I did the same theory on them and it helped them as well. And then they were able to really keep their necks not hurting anymore. Their headaches gone, their back
Mhm.
pain gone. And so what I really want to spread in the world, and it also starts in the athletes. I don't like the way some of the coaches treat these athletes.
Mhm.
And and then some of the CEOs, if they weren't feeling good, they would treat their people not so well.
Mhm.
So I want to spread really compassionate leadership by
Mhm.
allowing people to notice where their bodies aren't working with them. And because of that,
Mhm.
it's oozing out and it's not creating their best self. And
Mhm.
I'm really focused on making the best leaders out there that I can. So I'm trying to work with groups that are in charge of other people and starting there
Mhm.
and it's working really well. And it's a fascinating subject. It's amazing to work. I'm so honored to work with all these bodies through the years, and it's really fun. So yeah, ask away because
Yeah, because
it's so
you
much fun.
love the body. I mean, I love that you knew that at such a young age. And,
Yeah.
I like to highlight people's magic in this. And obviously, sensation magic is feeling the energy in the body, it's feeling other people's energy as well. But then I also hear recognition of like you're looking for the patterns. You're like innately studying your clients and making connections and having realizations that are furthering the conversation. And a lot of times, recognition magicians are so ahead of their time. They might be saying things before people are at all ready to receive them. Have you had, I see, have you had that
Oh, for sure.
experience?
I mean, I can remember, 30 years ago working with some of the professional athletes, or at least a little bit lower, that were working with my brother. They were surgeons, they were pain management doctors, and it was not okay to talk about, first of all, pain going from one side of the body to the other, or it
Mm,
wasn't okay to talk about, because that didn't work,
mm.
or for nerves to heal those things.
It didn't work, meaning they didn't have a medical explanation for it. Is that what you mean?
Exactly. They
Okay.
didn't want to talk about it. Now it's,
Mhm.
it's coming alive. Or if I would say, did you notice that every time you have this thought, you're having this pain? Oh no, that's,
Mhm.
I just need Tylenol. Yeah, it's been frustrating. It would be so great if we could all communicate, if there's
Yeah.
so many amazing ideas out there that actually work on the body, that help us heal, that are being
Mhm.
ignored. And or my
Mhm.
I think even worse, are being dismissed. They're like,
Mhm.
the hand in the face type
Yeah.
of. I have a whole story about being having that in my face with my husband, but that's another story.
Mm. Well, I'm thinking about being an innovator and being in this world of being an innovator and receiving that kind of response, right? Which, like, I think we're just on the beginning of like a massive embodiment movement of being coming mainstream. But I think as I hear you talk about your desire for people to communicate compassionately and in an embodied way, and it's like, no wonder, right? You're seeing all these places where people just aren't communicating, and we could
For
have
sure.
such a better life if,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm working hard on finishing my book. It's called, I think we're gonna call it a guide to body mind IQ. And
Mm,
that, like, just the basics of knowing, we know it, there's no new
mm,
information,
mhm.
but we are taught to ignore it. We're taught to
Yeah.
ignore when we're thirsty, when we're hungry. And like the go-getters, success in, especially in America, and in some other countries, success is so important that the body, not only does the
Yeah.
body get forgotten, the body's like last place, right? And
Yeah.
then there's other things that get forgotten, like their spouse and their kids and their
Yes.
families and they have no hobbies. And then their grounding goes away because they're not doing what they need. And it gets deeper and deeper, and the
Mhm.
problems get worse and worse. And the problems get more chronic and more chronic. That's usually when I see people, because
Yeah.
everything's fallen apart. But
Mm,
if we could see that before, if people could recognize that before, they would live longer, they would live happier, they would be more successful, they would have to work less and make more,
mm,
and they would spread love and kindness way easier. And
mhm.
that's the piece that I want to get to. But it takes all that in front of it, right, to have that
Mhm.
happen. So
I interviewed someone earlier today who her sign to do something different was her body literally breaking down, like where she could not function, right? Like seizures and things that didn't allow her to go to work anymore. She's like, maybe I shouldn't do this job. Maybe this job is not for me.
ding ding ding. Yes,
But
I
like,
call
how
those the red
often are
flags.
you seeing people at that point?
Oh, often. I mean, that the problem, it's usually well, it's in, like, if I compare again, a Fortune 500 company CEO and a professional athlete who just hurt themselves. So like, this is more tangible because they have a game tomorrow or next week, and they have to
Mhm.
change their body right now.
Yeah.
So, but the CEO, also, if
Mhm.
their life at home is good, if their inner self has forgiven everything, if they're noticing all the red flags, I call that the red flags, like a headache, gas, joint pain, your throat's closing, maybe you get constant throat infections. That is a
Mhm.
red flag. And if you're getting constant throat infections, you probably have pain on the back of your neck because it's about that far apart.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of medicine that doesn't recognize that. They don't want to
Yeah.
recognize how close that is. So I work with the line. So I've
Mhm.
created, in with my theories in my play, right? I've created these lines through the body, and they're very, very consistent. So one of them I call the God line. One of them I call,
Mm,
there's the breath line and grief line that goes down the right side of the body. There's many,
mm,
but
mhm,
if you can notice your own response in your body to the negative thoughts that you have, if you can notice that and marry the thought with the response to the thought, that's really it. It can help your body relax so
mhm,
much. It's I just get so excited when I see that happen in front of
mhm.
me. It's like, oh. And
Is
the
that going to be in
person,
your book?
yes, the person never
Okay.
forgets it. So all what this is the first book, and I'm working with Cindy Childress, so
Oh, nice.
I'm getting on it. I'm the first one's ready. I haven't had the strength, I guess. I'm afraid of it really a little bit.
Mm,
So I can even talk about that in my own body. There's fear of success there.
yeah.
So, but from that, there's other ones I'm doing. So body, mind, IQ for leaders, for relationships, for
Mm,
teens. I work with a lot of teens because it's different. The book was getting bigger and bigger. So I had to go, okay, here's the basics. And it's so
mm,
cool. It's just really basic. This is what's held in the neck. This is all
mhm,
communication in and out. This is, you know, this too, like right here. This is
mhm,
holding the world on your shoulders. It also shows on the middle, it will show not feeling appreciated. As you get closer to the neck, it's more resentment. In the chest is love, grief, courage, and betrayal. Those are the top four. There's more, but those are the four I work with the most. Betrayal is right between your shoulder blades where you can't get the knife, and that feels like a knife going
mhm,
through.
mhm.
We hold armor in our chest. Right below our
What's right
chest is like,
here? What's this right here?
that is armor. So love,
Okay.
courage, change.
Mm,
It goes straight through the back to some resistance to change areas between the shoulder blades. It also it could be healed by different types of breathing exercises to open up the chest.
mhm.
Opening up the chest, if everybody would just open up the chest a few times a day,
Lay on
it'll
the
help it'll help their
bolster.
lives. Yeah. And
Mm,
also our whole society goes forward. So we need to
mhm,
strengthen. But these little simple areas, you can look at this map in this book and say, oh, okay, that's where I hurt. All
mhm,
right. And then go, all right, okay, these are the things I do. I wanted to make it for
mm,
people like me who can't read very well. So it's all pictures.
mm.
And then it shows you
Love
how
that.
to, color coded also, because I love color coded.
Mhm,
And then how to work, how to get rid of the things in your throat, how to help your chest, how to help your torso, etc. And so
love it. Well, I want the certification. So if you could just get that ready.
I know people
I want
keep coming after me about.
to
I'll try to get there soon.
I want to be your first student. Okay, so you said the book is ready, and then there's just the fear, and you can play with where that is. Where is the fear of visibility? Where does that show up for you or for most people?
I think it's different depending on what the fear is, because fear shows through the entire body. So for me, I'm feeling my throat is closed right now in my life.
Mhm.
I'm having a hard time communicating. I'm having a hard time trusting and believing.
Mm,
And so the fear is there's a little bit of imposter syndrome, like no one wants to hear this. Who am I to say it anyway?
mm,
Those types of things. And then the next fear is this will never happen. You can never finish this. It's not good enough. There's a lot coming up for
mhm,
me at the moment. And so that's right now, as I'm speaking to you, I'm feeling it right in the
mm,
back of my neck. And then my
mhm,
shoulder on my right side is hurting, like right here.
mm,
And then
mhm,
I just noticed this is really hot. So right above my
mm,
grief area on my right side,
mm,
which, yeah, it feels tender right here.
mhm,
Didn't know that was tender.
mm,
Tender here too. So like if I worked on myself, that's what I would do. I would try to open this up. I'd probably get a hot
mhm,
compress. I would get some tea to help my throat. I can
mhm,
tell that my throat needs heat, but not too
mhm,
hot. My head hurts right here, just started hurting. So this area of the head
mm,
usually has a lot to do with not wanting to see what's right in front of you, trying to like make the world,
mm.
like seeing the world with rose colored glasses, that type
So
of,
here.
that would be the left up above yeah, it's actually a whole, I do it with I see like a headband. So
Hmm.
like right here, I'll work here, all the way
Hmm.
around,
Hmm.
and then match things from the front to the back of the head. So I would imagine since this is hurting up here, I could probably find some stuff in my sinuses. Yeah, like right there. And I
Mm.
didn't know that hurt. I don't, these points show up. They're just, and they give us information about how to be a detective really in our own body and
Yeah.
say, okay, what's my theory? Let me see if I can fix that theory or find that
Mhm.
theory. Another way I say it, Darla, is like yesterday at this conference I was at, like if you have there's a lot of circuits in the body. And when we get too busy,
Mhm.
the circuit turns off, and the switch to turn the circuit off, we don't even remember that it's there. So
Yeah.
it's turned off, and then the circuit is cold. And from there, what I do
Mhm.
is I go in and I find the switch and I find the circuit and I turn it on.
Mhm.
And then the person doesn't even know that the 2 points either were numb, chronic, and that they don't recognize each other. Once
Mhm.
you turn the circuit on in your mind and between the mind and the body, there's this whole new aha, like, oh,
Mhm.
I didn't know that that worked together. Oh, and then from there, you recognize what I try to coach is recognize the pattern that your body's been doing to keep that in place, to keep it quiet, to keep it dismissed,
Mhm.
to keep it not turned on because maybe you're afraid of something from the past, maybe long ago, maybe
Yeah.
soon, and it's protecting you. The problem with is that our body will protect us from something that happened when we were 3 for our entire lifetime if we don't address it,
Yes.
if we don't
Yes.
acknowledge it. So it just takes one click and it'll clean up a lot of those. But a lot of people tell me, I didn't even
Mhm.
know I was hurting there. I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't even know. And another thing I hear a lot is I'm hurting. I went to the doctor. I had MRIs. I had CT scans. I
Mhm.
did the chiropractic. I did physical therapy. I'm still hurting and the doctors tell me nothing's wrong.
Mhm.
That's another very common, come see me, we
Yeah.
can figure this out. And I'm so
Yeah.
sad that a doctor or any person would say to
Yes.
anybody, oh, there's nothing wrong with you. Sorry. Bye.
Mhm.
Uh, that doesn't serve either person. It's a lose-lose situation.
Well, they don't have the tools, right? They don't have the tools to find out what it really is.
Yeah, I agree.
Thus, let's get that book published.
I know I'm trying. I'm trying. I'm on it. I'm sprinting. I'm sprinting, but I stop. I take 2 steps forward, 2 steps back. If anybody's writing a book, I'm sure you understand. You've written many, so like you understand. But yeah, I'm
You
on
got
it.
a
It's
good team in
interesting
your
because
corner.
yes, I do. I do.
I became really interested in mind body stuff years ago when I had debilitating back pain. And I thought it was from wearing heels, and everybody's like, don't wear those heels. So then I started wearing flat shoes and still there. And I was traveling for work, and it was like I couldn't pull my suitcase. And my colleague had to like bring my suitcase for me. And I'm like, okay, this is not good. It led me to start hearing my body. So I went to Feldenkrais classes in my neighborhood, which was amazing. And I was so like, if you had known me, I was so judgy. I was like, this little tiny movement, like, how is that fucking doing anything? This is silly, and yet I couldn't do it. Like, how do I move that little muscle? So it was a whole thing. Because I was like, we're going to go to the gym and we're going to work out and we're going to run a marathon. We are not like just moving our tiny muscles. So, but I also read a book called Healing Back Pain Without Surgery because the
Good one.
doctors said, your disc is crushed and it was sounded like terrible. I read the book and the next day the pain was gone.
I hear that often.
It
Yes.
was like I think the acknowledgement of the energy
Yes.
cleared it. And then I had to go get divorced. So, you know,
Exactly.
because it was connected. But I had
Isn't
that
it interesting?
experience. I once fell down the stairs and tore my rotator cuff. And it was like so like shouldering the burdens and all of this ways that I was like carrying the weight of the world. And so I'm just like such an advocate for your work. And I would love to share about our experience together, but you were about to say something. So,
Oh, I was gonna say, like, I have so many stories of like just like that where people
Yeah.
some amazing things. And that's why I'm just so passionate about it, because I have seen, in my opinion, God's work right in front of me. And just in my, like in my own life, but watching literally tens of thousands of people go through it, where our body wants to be healthy. It wants to be pain free. It wants to be joyful and to move freely.
Mhm.
And then the mind gets in the way. So we just have to come together. And yeah, and in our session too, I loved our session. If you want to share about it, I'm
Mhm.
all game. It's up
Yeah,
to
I
you.
do because, I've shared little bits and pieces of the transformation I've been in this year on the podcast. And, I'm just putting connections together, your passion about team and communication and all of that. And so much has changed with me and my team
Right. Oh,
since
good.
our session. And I think it's so beautiful how the universe conspires to support us because I had this hip pain. I mean, you know this, but people don't. I had this hip pain that I'd had for quite a while since I was in my prior marriage. And it would come and go. And I would kind of notice it coming and going related to my thoughts, right? Like how whatever the energy I was in, it like, oh, now the pain is here. And so I knew there was more to it than just a physical thing. And so, yeah, when you were speaking, I'm like, oh, I'm definitely going to do this and work with Ruth and, talk about my hips. And so it ended up that right before I went to meet you, I had this experience, and I don't think I've shared this story here. I had this experience where my partner got really mad at me, but it wasn't even at me, and said to me, I think you might need to move out. And this was like right before I'm getting in the car to go, be with you. And I've lived here just over a year and, finally feeling like grounded. And I feel so in like such a safe, healthy relationship. And all of a sudden this comes up, right? And so that happened. And I'm not thinking, I mean, I was like, whoa. And then I just released, I'm like, okay, that's not about me. And I let it go. And then I go to session with you. And in it, there's like all of this stuff coming up about masculine energy and safety. And I don't really know. I just remember it was right here in the, like at the
Right.
back of my left side of my body. The memory came of my stepdad and how he had basically said the same thing, right? So my parents divorced, life was super tumultuous for years. And then my mom remarried my stepdad, and I felt finally safe. We have a home. He owned a home, right? So it was like, "Ooh, I'm safe here." And then whatever I did, I don't know what or whatever was going on, he said, I'm going to go send you to live with your dad if you're not careful. And it was like that exact same experience, right? And so I'm excited to hear from your perspective, but it was like you were feeling it and it like didn't want to release and it was very, I can be sticky um energetically. But what I want to share, and then I want to hear, teach people. You can use me to teach people. But what opened up as I started to move that energy and look at that, is that younger version of me had decided that there was no safety and that I couldn't rely on kind of, the masculine, right? This was my new dad. Can't rely on him. Obviously, there's no safety, there's no structure. And so I'm going to create that for myself. And so I went back and looked at pictures and I could see like the age that happened and when I started to look more like strong and masculine. And so since I've been unraveling so much of that, I can feel the emotion of it, of realizing how much in my world had been built on that energy of like, you
Yeah.
can count on me to be this, right? And I'm like, for those who aren't seeing video, like very structured and solid
Yeah.
and safe. And moving that gives me so much freedom to be however, right? It's like a whole
Yeah.
new invention. And I've worked on myself for decades. And I teach this stuff. I watch people transform. I've transformed in many, many ways. And it's like, I had no idea. I knew that that had happened, right? I knew that he had said, if you're not careful, I'm going to send you to go live with your dad. I knew that here, but I had never felt it in my body, right? It was so terrifying that I
Yeah.
was bracing against it. Right. And my mom had conditioned me that my dad was horrible my whole life. So it felt so scary, right? Like I'm probably going to die if that happens. So let me just,
Yeah.
be good. So anyway, that it's been a process, Ruth, of like reintegrating these new energies and resisting the temptation to pick up the structure and make structure for other people. It's like, no, you do your own structure. So that's what I'm in right now.
Well, that's amazing. I know it was such an honor to work with you, by the way. So, and here's the thing, like, and it sounds like, because that comes up when when the emotion comes up, that's when
Mhm.
I can help the best, by the way.
Mhm.
And it's like, I
Yeah.
would love to see you soon. We can
Mhm.
heal that up. But for people that have, like, they're listening to this and like, oh my gosh, and they remember something in their lives that might, maybe they can even feel it in their body and they know where that
Mhm.
is. It's, I just want to acknowledge you for going
Mhm.
through that because it's not easy. And for anybody listening, this is not easy work, but
Yeah.
it's so freeing. If you have the courage to look
Mhm.
at this, because it's really scary and the fear is real. And I just want to let you know and tell you that it is real. Like, if
Mhm.
anybody's telling you that it's fake or this is in your mind or whatever, I can show you specific muscles that
Mhm.
tighten when you have these feelings. And that's what happened in your body. And then what we're doing from there is we're just trying to find the path, the line that your body specifically created.
Mhm.
Everybody's is different. It
Mhm.
will follow certain things. Fear goes one way, grief goes another way,
Mhm.
jealousy, guilt, shame. There's a lot of them. Worry, anxiety,
Yeah.
overwhelm, those are the main ones. Maybe even in the
Anger.
anger, say the huge one, right? Anger, not feeling, not belonging, not feeling like your purpose, not able to swallow things. You
Mhm.
don't want that to be true. You're not going to actually swallow it. There's a lot. And
Mhm.
so you take that spot and you try to recognize where it's leading you. If you can think about it, you can try to find where it's leading you to another point. And that's just what I'm an expert at. I can find those
Mhm.
points, but you can too. Like,
Yeah.
you just have to listen to your body. It's screaming at you going, here's the 2 points. Here's the two
Well,
points.
okay.
Right.
Yes,
Go ahead.
and it's like
It's hard.
you can too, and yet you're there saying, "Oh yeah, I have this book I could publish, but this and
I know. It's
here,"
me too.
right?
Yeah.
Because here's, when you said it's not easy work, when it clears, what changes? And that's what I think most people are afraid of. Like I think, Ruth, if I knew that, like, oh, I'm gonna let go of half of my team and
Right.
and
Right.
now I have to figure out how to hire for something different than I ever thought I needed to. Like, and the grief of the letting go and like, would I have said, "Oh yeah, sign me up for that?" You know?
Like, no, absolutely not, for sure. I
No.
mean, just to tell the audience a little bit, where she's talking about is her work went into completely shifting her team. It went
Mhm.
from her body and her dad to all these other things weren't working. And so
Mhm.
that's, I'm not going to tell you that's not going to happen. So
Mhm.
if your life isn't aligned to joy and amazing, just being the best person you can be, if it's not aligned
Mhm.
and you get the strength from our session and you feel supported around you, things will start to shift that are
Mhm.
pretty scary. Me too. Like, if I get the
Yeah.
book out, am I going to be too busy? I think that's the main fear,
Mhm.
Darla.
Mhm.
Like, I already traveled 150 days last year.
Yeah.
I'm feeling, like, can I do this? And of course I can. I
Mhm.
I just have to have better boundaries. I think that, but that it is the fear of what what we're capable of,
Mhm.
and do we even want to look at that?
Yeah.
Um, can we handle it? Of course we can handle it, but it doesn't feel like it. So the body
Yeah.
resists. The body resists. There's
Mhm.
that book, The Body Keeps the Score. That's true too.
Mhm.
You know, the
Yeah.
body is so smart if we listen. I could go on and on, as you know. I just love this. And I know that,
Well, I think people need to start adding this into their toolkit.
yes, it's simple. I mean, like I say, it's simple, but it's not easy. Like you hold
Mhm.
two spots. That's simple. You breathe.
Mhm.
That's simple. You open up your chest. That's simple.
Mhm.
The next pieces, yeah, it takes courage. It takes
Mhm.
courage to actually say, wow, my mom told me this, and my body's keeping that true, that I'm ugly, that I'm no, worthless. And the fear is, if I let that go, can I be that real powerful woman
Mhm.
today? And that's just
Yeah.
one of many conversations that are in someone's body. Like it's,
Yeah.
you know, what their siblings did, if they've been abused in some way, if, you know, yeah, on and on. And
Mhm.
little one at a time, we can calm down and get the fray all relaxed.
Mhm. You know, I'm thinking of how I train people and how I have a retreat coming up this week. And we leave with our sourced energy words. That's my language, right? It's like, what is the energy that I can now embody that I released that old pattern, that old story? We always do something experiential to step into it, right? Like movement, getting in front of the group. Maybe it's taking an action like calling someone in your life or whatever the aligned action is with the new words, right? Canceling that appointment or whatever. So that was experiential. Do you have any easy tips for people when they're in the new energy and like the world doesn't seem like it's welcoming it, but they know I really, I really want to be that. Like I don't want to be, I'll just give a practical example from my world. Like I don't want to be in Slack making sure projects happen, right? So
Right?
like that is not my highest use here, but I've trained everyone that I will do that, right? Well, this is I think I've untrained them, but for example, in the moment where it's like, oh, I need to make sure, and then it's like, no. Any guidance for people?
You know, the number one thing that you just mentioned, and that I even have a talk about it, is to the number one thing you can do when you're changing something like that is to smile.
Mm.
Very simple. And then when you see yourself, smile at yourself. So if there's a
Mm.
mirror in your
Wow.
car, anywhere else, I'm telling you, smiling, yes, is
Hey,
so,
there's you.
hey, here's us. It is so powerful. And so it's simple.
Mm.
And in that smile, like you can tell yourself, like I have a mantra to protect myself when I'm working on people. As you know, like in massage,
Mhm.
you can just take on everybody's energy.
Yeah.
After a while, you pray and it takes like 2 or 3 minutes, and then you visualize. Well, now after doing it so much, I mean, I can visualize it in a second. So the
Mhm.
same thing with your smile,
Mm.
be intentional with that smile. Say to yourself,
Mhm.
what I'm doing is really good for the world. It's needed. I am amazing. And people are going to be upset. That's okay, because I'm going to smile at them. And you know what? They're going to smile back at me. And say that mantra, whatever the mantra is. That was a cute one, but make it for you. And then memorize
Mhm.
that mantra, so that when you smile, you hear yourself saying that mantra. You don't even have to say it. It's just
Mhm.
whoop, in your mind. But smile, baby. That will really support your new you.
I was not expecting that answer. I love it. So simple.
It is. Yeah.
So, Ruth, how are you working with people these days?
Yeah. I'm mainly going to retreats. So if anybody has retreats and they want me to come,
Mhm.
I love doing that. That style of work really spreads this deeply and quickly. So I like that because I want to spread it as far and wide as possible. So that one. Then I can do online classes for people. And then the
Mhm.
other, if you want to do one-on-one work with me, I do a body audit, which is online. It takes an hour
Mhm.
and has some pre-work and some post-work, but it's really cool. I could do it for you. I can audit your body and tell you right away what you're holding and what you could do for it.
Mhm.
And then I do, I love the VIPs that I do, like I do for
Mhm.
you. I either travel to you or you travel to me, and we just have a luscious day together. And I just
Mhm.
I try to love and support and honor what your body needs as best I possibly
Mhm.
can. And I have a concierge team that comes in and helps me. And we just, so that's what those are the ways that you can work with me. And I have my gift for your people is
Mhm.
I added a body map. It's called a body map pack. And it's just what I use. It's really simple. You go in and it's what I use when you talk to me, and I map out what I hear is going on in your body. But what I do is I ask you to do it first. And so
Mhm.
I have one, like there's four. And the last one, sometimes people don't understand it. It's called the body heroes. And what is a body hero? So, you can complain,
Mhm.
this is what's wrong, pain, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
Mhm.
And there's some other ways that we talk about our body. There's body heroes. That's what's working. And what I say is, like, there's what's called drop. You disperse from the area. Then the R is you recruit
Mhm.
energy to come in. You open up
Mhm.
the area and you look at your pattern and then repattern. So that's in there as well. But I want you to look at where things are. And then with the heroes, that's where you ask your body to send the pain to the
Mhm.
hero, the something that's working. Are your legs all, you don't even notice your leg because they never hurt. You never
Mhm.
notice your head because it never hurts. You never notice something because it's always just being a hero. That's
Mhm.
where you ask in your body, hey, could you help us? Could we become a team? And because that area that you never feel because it's doing so well,
Mhm.
it disperses pain very, very quickly.
Mhm.
It disperses stress. It disperses bad energy or whatever very quickly. So give it to that area.
Yeah.
And as you know, I can go on and on, but that's my map pack. And
I love
your
it.
guys you could, if you want to submit it back to me, I'll give you some feedback. So download
Ooh.
it. I know. Do your little pictures. There's also the visionary. Do you remember that one? I loved your vision. Your body vision. What is your
Oh.
vision for your
Mhm.
body? Is like, what do you want? What's the best form of your body? I
Mhm.
want I want to see that. Some people draw on it. Some people give me pictures of vacations. Some people just have. There's been many. There's been some
Mhm.
amazing ones. So yeah, what is your vision board for your body?
Mhm.
And I just want you to know your body loves you. Consider that when you think about things, and
Mhm.
consider what is your relationship with your body, and are you giving it a voice? That's my main mission. Give it a voice.
Beautiful. We will put the link below that video to access that body map pack. I've filled it out a couple times, very
Yeah,
insightful.
it's
So,
fun.
my final question that I like to ask everyone, when I created this podcast, it was definitely sourced, and I got this vision for, I haven't ever shared this, but in this way, but it's a horse, right? So I have horse art up in my room here where I'm recording, but the horse is carrying it. So the horse is one of my spirit animals, and the horse is, if you think about how communication used to be carried by horses, right? And it would connect people from outside of their little bubble of their community. And so I'm imagining this horse energy is carrying these words to people wherever they are to connect them with their soul family. So if someone's listening who is magical and they don't know what to do with that yet, or the people in their life aren't having an amazing life and they really want that, what advice would you have for them?
So as a body advocate, I think that when you're feeling uh, lost, um, is to really trust your body and to ask, what should I be doing?
Mm.
And just sit quietly and listen. I think part of the problem with many of us, myself included, is that we don't listen long enough.
Mm-hmm.
We give up before some real insight comes. And I'm telling you, just trust me, after so many thousands of hours of working with the body, it has a lot to tell you. And it has so much magic and just inspiration. And if you give it a chance, it starts cheering. It's like, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm not kidding with that. It'll just, and when you know it's right, you'll know it's right because like you have either a deep breath like that, or you start smiling, or you're like, oh, it's one of those. Wait and listen until that happens. That's what I would suggest for you. If you need any support, I can help you too.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thanks for having me. You're amazing. I love working with you. Always.
Back at
Can't
you.
wait to see you in October. And you know
Yes.
what? If any of your people want to come to October and to see that,
Oh,
I will
yeah.
give them 20 minutes free. Mm-hmm. Yes, I
Ooh,
know.
okay.
I
So
know. I
people
just
may
got all
not know
hot.
what you're talking about.
I
So,
know.
and oh, this is full circle, Ruth, because part of this healing for me in the masculine is partnering with Ron,
Love it. Yep.
right?
Yeah, I'm
And
so glad. So
so
glad. Great partnership.
it makes me tear up because
Yes, and I'm involved with that. So I
right?
love that.
Isn't that amazing? That's where I met you. So I'm doing
Yes.
a collaborative event, which you also love collaboration,
Yes.
with Ron Reich. If you don't know him, his website is just his name. Look him up. Ruth can speak highly of him because
Yes.
he
Highly.
he's been her coach and we met at his event. And so that's happening October 29th and 30th in Houston, Texas. Divinelyunstoppable.com. You can find your tickets there. Okay, so say it again.
So if you're thinking about going to that, this might, I was preemptive, so sorry.
Mm,
But this is going to be an amazing event. The people that are going to be there, besides Ron and Darla leading it, there's amazing people. If you're thinking of going, go. But I'm going to offer, if you do this from Darla, or if you know Darla and you come because of her, I will gift you. I have a line of people. Darla can tell you. I will put you at the front of the list, the front of the line, and I will work on you for free for 20 minutes. And yeah,
that's juicy.
I'm love to help
Ooh,
people. Yeah.
okay, so
I feel so good about that.
ah,
I'm so good.
right?
Yeah.
So y'all, when
Yeah.
you see Ruth, you just go and say, I heard you on the podcast. Do
Yep.
me.
That's right. That's right. And I will work on you. I will show
Um,
you where things are held and I'll help you get it out.
mm,
I do a lot in 20 minutes. So it's,
yeah,
yeah, I would love for you to come. So those of you
thank
listening
you.
that are thinking about it, come out. Yeah.
That is so generous. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll get to hug you soon.
I know. Yay.
Awesome.
uh,
Thank you for saying yes to this. And thank you for your role in my life and my world. I just appreciate you.
thank you. I appreciate you too. Thanks again. Thanks for having me.
All right. That wraps this episode of Activating Magic. We'll see you next week. Bye, everyone.